Hey, what is going on, YouTube and Teddy here? So today, I'm going to take a look at the cards coming out of the Japanese sets, Time Gazer and Space Juggler. And that's really all I got to say before we get into it. So let's go ahead and let's get right into it. The first card I'm going to be taking a look at is the Luxray V, 210 HP, basic Pokemon. Double colorless for a Fang Snipe, 30 damage. Your opponent reveals their hand, discard a trainer card you find there. And then for Lightning colorless, 120, discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So the really cool attack on this Pokemon, of course, is that first attack with the Fang Snipe for 2 colorless energy. Discarding a trainer card from your opponent's hand could definitely play some kind of weird control deck with this card. A really cool play you can kind of set up with this actually is if you put a DTE on the Luxray, it reduces your damage by 20. So you're doing 10 damage. And then if you put another DTE on it, you're actually doing 0 damage. And then you're looking at your opponent's hand every turn and discarding a trainer card you find there. So you can set up some kind of lock where you're not actually doing enough damage to ever KO your opponent's active Pokemon, and you're constantly just discarding trainer cards from their hand. But even if you only have one DTE on there doing 10 damage, you're not KOing anything anytime fast. So you'd still be able to put quite a big hurt on your opponent resources with the Fang Snipe. So that could be a really cool combo you could make work with this Luxray V and make some kind of weird control deck. So I'm definitely excited to try it out like that. How good will it be? Who knows? It doesn't look like it's going to be too powerful or anything, but it definitely could be a ton of fun. So definitely excited to try out that Luxray V Fang Snipe control deck. The next card is the Jirachi V with the ability. This is the biggest part about this card for sure. 180 HP, by the way. Wish Bridge is the ability. When your basic Pokemon V is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you may move one basic energy card from the knocked out Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. And you can do this while the Jirachi V is on the bench just chilling. You have active V, or you have a V Pokemon, basic V Pokemon. It does have to be a basic, which does restrict this quite a bit. A lot of the best cards in the game right now are stage 1s, or effectively stage 1s. So basic Pokemon, not the strongest right now, and the strongest kind of basic V Pokemon that are going around right now are stuff like Suicune or like Entei V, where when they get knocked out, you bench like a fresh one and then fully accelerate the energy out of hand. You don't actually want any other V Pokemon in play in case you don't want to attack with a V Pokemon that turn. But the Jirachi could combo and make some cards that were not potentially good in the past good all of a sudden. I can't think of any off the top of my head, I'm not going to lie, but the ability is really strong. Being able to move an energy from one of your knocked out Pokemon to another of your Pokemon with just by having another Pokemon in play. We've had stuff in the past like this with like EXP Share, but EXP Share is like an item card that is so much harder to find. We have like Quick Ball and Ultra Ball right now that can find this Jirachi V and get it into play at ASAP, whereas with EXP Shares, I mean, it's an item card that you'd have to draw into. It's a little bit harder to make work. So definitely see some potential for this Jirachi. Definitely a strong ability. Even if it's one of those cards that never sees play, it definitely has a really strong ability. It just needs the right Pokemon to work with. But I don't know if we quite have the basic Vs that this card is looking for yet, but maybe we'll get there a little bit later with some future sets. And then the attack is Psychic Colors for 60, and both active Pokemon are now asleep. So not a very strong attack either there. Moving right along, all the way down to the Thievul. Now this card is also another really cool card with that Befuddle ability. It has 110 HP. It is a stage 1. If your opponent has 2 or fewer prize cards remaining, supporter cards played from your opponent's hand have no effect on your benched Pokemon V. So if your opponent has 2 prize cards left and you have a big Vmax in your active, or just a non-V Pokemon in your active that's only worth 1 prize card, your opponent can't win the game next turn if you have Thievul in play. They can't boss up your Crobat or your 2 prize Pokemon off your bench and bring it to the active and knock it out. They'll have to go like boss KO the Thievul and then boss KO another 1 prizer, even if you even have another 1 prizer in play. And they also have to have the boss as well, which they also might just not have. And when we're getting Roxanne eventually, you'll be able to disrupt your opponent and potentially make it so they don't have the boss, which means they have to hit into your active. And that could be a 1 prize Pokemon, so they only get 1 prize for the turn, or it could be a really big 2 prize or multi-prize Pokemon that they can't quite one-hit KO, and then you could heal it the next turn or go into another big multi-prize Pokemon that they can't KO and keep kind of retreating into different big multi-prize Pokemon, and your opponent can never use your boss and your V Pokemon to close out the game, so that's how you could win the game. So the Thievul is actually really, really cool. I definitely think we could see some weird pseudo control heal board limiting decks from this for sure. So I'm excited to try out this Thievul. I think there's a lot of potential in this card with the Befuddle ability. Super excited for that one. Up next we have the Magnezone, stage 2, 150 HP, Giga Magnet. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 6 cards of your deck, choose any number of metal energy you find there, and attach those to your Pokemon in any way you like. Then shuffle the remaining cards back in your deck. So pretty powerful energy acceleration ability. It is on a stage 2, but I definitely think there's some potential for the Magnezone here. It just needs the right attackers to work with. One of them might be the Dialga Vstar, and now the Dialga Vstar has that first attack with the Metal Blast for a colorless energy, 40 damage plus 40 more for each metal energy attached to this Pokemon. So you use Magnezone, you can start to build up some metal energy, and then it has a super strong Vstar power. It is an attack for metal, colorless. You do 220, and then you take another turn immediately after this one. You should immediately take another turn, similar to the other Dialga in Expanded that does that. I forget how that one exactly works, but it gives you another turn, basically, and that's exactly what Dialga does here. I guess it's kind of like Metacham with the Leap, or whatever the Metacham's Yoga Loop. That's what it is. Yeah, the Yoga Loop gives you another turn immediately. Same thing with the Dialga Vstar. You attack, and you get another turn. You don't even have to take a knockout. You just have to attack, but you do need 4 metal. You need 5 energy total on this thing. 4 of them have to be metal. But if you have that many metal energy on you, your Metal Blast is hitting pretty hard. So if you like set up a 2-hit KO on something with the going into the V-Star power, and then you have to have that many metal energy on there, get another turn, maybe get a couple more, and then all of a sudden your Metal Blast is basically potentially 1-hit KO, and you're like basically anything. So that could be pretty scary. I'm pretty hyped to try out this Dialga V-Star for sure. Could definitely be a big game changer and a big player when it releases. Definitely excited to give it a shot. Up next, we have the, I don't actually know how to say the name of this Pokemon, Weirdeer V Ability, Opening Road. Once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from your bench to become your active Pokemon, you may move any number of energy from your other Pokemon to it. And then for colorless, it does 40 damage plus 40 more, or no, it does 40 damage times the number of energy attached to this Pokemon. So if you're playing a deck that builds up a lot of energy in play throughout a game, all of a sudden you can bring this Weirdeer out of nowhere and just hit really hard. Has a similar ability to the Heatran GX that we had a little while ago. Heatran's GX attack hit really hard for a lot of energy, but this one isn't even like a V-Star power or anything. It's just its attack, and it can just hit really hard. So if you're just playing a deck that builds up a lot of energy in play, or can build up a lot of energy, all of a sudden out of nowhere you can use the Side Shield Bash and just get a 1-hit KO on a full HP Pokemon of your opponent. So I think there's a lot of potential for this card as well. Really cool as like a one of tech in any deck that really can build up a ton of energy in play. I'm definitely interested to see how this card works. Also, another way you could play it is you could just kind of switch between Weirdeers. Like you could have one set up and you could have like a Cape of Toughness on it, and you hit, and then your opponent hits you, but because you have the Cape of Toughness, they don't quite knock you out, and you like switch into a new one, and then like Charon's Care the other one up into your hand because it's a colorless Pokemon, and then put it back down with a Cape of Toughness, and they hit the other one, and then you switch again, and you like slowly build up energy in play while you're doing all this, and eventually you get to the point where you're just taking 1-hit KOs or something. So there's something like that could also be pretty cool. Up next, we got the Switch Cart. Switch your active basic Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. If you do heal 30 damage from the Pokemon, you move to your bench. So a better switch, but only for basic Pokemon. If your active isn't a basic Pokemon, you can't switch it. So Switch overall is a better card overall than Switch Cart. But if for some reason you're playing a deck that needs to play a switching card and you only play basic Pokemon, you may as well heal 30 extra damage as well, right? No reason not to. Trekking Shoes, a big item card to come out of this set, I feel like. I think this will be played in quite a few decks. I could be wrong on that, of course. Similar to kind of Acrobike, or that's what it's kind of been compared to, and I definitely see the similarities. Look at the top card of your deck. You may put that card in your hand or discard it and draw one card. So you can either put it in your hand or you can discard it and then draw a card, but you can't put it in your hand and then also draw another card. Not quite how it works. Otherwise, it'd be really good. Next, we have the Featherball. Search your deck for a Pokemon with 0 retreat cost. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So decks like Jolteon will definitely be able to take advantage of this. Maybe Mew VMAX will. I'm not actually too sold that Mew VMAX would play this card, but I think Jolteon will for sure play Featherball. And I'm sure there's a bunch of decks out that'll come out in the future that will take advantage of the Featherball. Gardenias Vitality, definitely the best supporter we're getting out of either of these sets. Draw 2 cards and attach up to 2 Grass Energy cards from your hand to one of your benched Pokemon. So basically a reprint of Welder. Super powerful supporter card in Gardenias, and it can be any Pokemon. It doesn't have to be a grass Pokemon. So we could see this being played with all kinds of cards. It doesn't have to just be a grass Pokemon, like we saw with Welder being played with a bunch of different cards as well. Stadium, Gape, Jaw, Bog. Whenever either player plays a basic Pokemon from their hand onto their bench, place 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. We've seen stadiums similar to this in the past. None have been really great to play to too much success, except for the one that you played with the Gyarados deck a little while ago, but see some play, but I don't see any Pokemon that can really take a huge advantage of that damage counters being put on them besides Morpeko, but Morpeko already kind of functions fine with Houndoom. You don't really need more ways to put more damage counters on your Morpeko, so yeah, I don't see a huge ton of potential for this stadium right now with the card pool we have, but in the future, anything's possible. Next is Heatran Vmax with the 330 HP, the ability Lava Enhancement. Once on your turn, if you have a stadium card in play, you may heal 50 damage from this Pokemon. And then for Fire Colorless, 180, your opponent's active is now burned. Actually, I'm pretty excited for this one because I think you could definitely make some kind of big tank deck when you combo this with the Togekiss, which we'll talk about in just a second. Healing 50 damage per turn on a Pokemon that has 330 HP. I mean, we've seen a lot of decks in the last couple months that are kind of just like a big Pokemon, you just kind of heal it with a bunch of random healing cards like potions and Cheryl and stuff like that. And we've seen a bunch of different takes on stuff like that. There's been like the Stone Journer deck. There's been the big Drakazult VMAX, like stuff like that, where you just kind of heal a Pokemon over and over. And with an ability that just heals 50 damage from your Pokemon, as long as you have a stadium, but you probably just play a pretty heavy stadium count, I definitely think there's some potential for the Heatran Vmax to kind of follow in the footsteps of those other decks like that. Palkia Vstar, 280, water 60 plus 20 more for each bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponents. So pretty solid attack there with the Spatial Swell. And then the ability V-Star Power. Once on your turn, you may use this ability, attach up to 3 water energy from your discard pile to your water Pokemon in any way you like. So I actually think the V-Star Power is super strong. And maybe we'll just see Palkia be kind of a support Pokemon to some other Pokemon where you just use your V-Star power as like your setup for the other Pokemon. And then you also have Palkia in the deck as an attacking option with that Spatial Swell. We'll have to wait and see for sure what other water Pokemon you could combo with this. The one that comes to mind initially is the Ice Rider VMAX. We'll have to wait and see what you can potentially combo this with. But I think there's a lot of potential for the Palkia as kind of a support Pokemon in some kind of water deck. And yeah, Ice Rider VMAX definitely stands out to me as the initial thing to combo it with. Okay, we get to the Togekiss line, starting with the Togepi. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may heal 10 damage from your active Pokemon. Then we get to the Togetic. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may heal 30 damage from your active Pokemon. And then finally, we get to the Togekiss. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may heal 90 damage from your active Pokemon. So you could play a 4/4/4 Togekiss line and scoop up nets and then just heal your active Pokemon for a ton over and over again. And I don't know what deck would be best with this Togekiss line, but like I said, the Heatran seems like a decent Pokemon to combo with this, because you'll be healing 50 from Heatran's ability every turn as long as you control the stadium in play. And then with the Togekiss, I mean, you could be healing a bunch of damage every single turn with the Togekiss line. 90 from the Togekiss, 20 from the Togetic, 10 from Togepis. Play a 4/4/4 of that with some scoop up nets, and that's a lot of healing every single turn potentially. So I'm actually really excited to try out something with this Togekiss line. Heatran VMAX might be the way to go, but I think there definitely could be some other tanky Pokemon that might be more optimal to combo with the Togekiss line. But I'm definitely excited to try the Togekiss line out. That is for sure. Moving right along, next we have the Reggie Drago. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your active, you may draw cards until you have 4 in your hand. 130 HP is a basic Pokemon. And then for Grass, Fire Colorless, 160. But it's actually an insanely powerful ability on a non-multi-prize Pokemon, on just a basic Pokemon worth 1 prize card. The problem with this card, though, is actually the 3 retreat cost, which will make it really hard to get into your active. I mean, it won't be hard to get into your active. It'll be hard to get out of your active. Air Balloon doesn't quite work on it. You could play Switch, you could play Scoop Up Net, but that's like another card you have to find on the turn when it's in your active to actually be able to make it, to be able to get it out of your active. So I'm not sure how good this card actually will end up being because of that. The retreat cost is definitely a big limiting factor for this one, but if there is a way to consistently get it out of your active once it's in your active, I definitely could see it having a ton of play. Oranguru V with the ability Order, basic Pokemon, 210 HP. Once on your turn, if this Pokemon is in your active spot, you may search your deck for 2 tool cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Now, I don't see a ton of situations where this card is like ridiculously strong or anything, but I think it's got a pretty cool ability, and it does have 2 retreat cost, so it doesn't also need to be in the active spot, kind of like the Reggie Drago, but it has 2 retreat cost, so it does combo with Air Balloon, and then it's got the attack Psychic, for 3 colorless, 30 plus 50 for each energy attached to your opponent's active. So a decent attack that probably won't see too much use if you do play this in a deck, but I could see the Oranguru V being good in something potentially. It's got a good ability, but it's once again one of those cards that might just never see play, even though it has a solid ability. Energy Lotto, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You may reveal an energy card you find there and put it into your hand. We've seen Energy Lotto. I was going to say cards like Energy Lotto. We've literally seen Energy Lotto in the past. This is a reprint. I'm not sure it'll have too big of an impact on any decks drastically, but I definitely think it'll see play in its time back in the game for sure. So, not that I'm overly excited to see Energy Lotto back, but it was a solid card before. It'll probably be a solid card again. Heavy Ball, look at your face down prize cards. You may reveal a basic Pokemon you find there and put it into your hand, then shuffle this Heavy Ball into your remaining prize cards and then put them back face down. I actually think this card is going to be pretty strong overall, especially with Sparkling Pokemon coming out, because you don't want to be caught with your Sparkling Pokemon prize. And also, there's a lot of utility to just use it in general for any other basic Pokemon you potentially prize. Like if you just, have a Sobble prize or one of the V Pokemon that you want to set up as prize, you can just use the Heavy Ball and just get out of the prize cards, and now it's just in play instead of being prize. So I do think the card is pretty strong overall, actually, and I'm going to be excited to test it out, and I think it's a good way to kind of not have games get kind of thrown out of whack just because one person prizes their Sparkling Pokemon and the other person doesn't, and then your opponent has like such an advantage in that kind of scenario, especially for like mirror match situations where like if you both play the Sparkling Greninja or something like that, you're not left with one person having access to it and the other person not. So I think it'll help balance that out a little bit and not make it too big of a deal that you prize your Sparkling Pokemon potentially. But who knows? This card also might just not see play. Super effective glasses. When the Pokemon this card is attached to does damage to your opponent's active Pokemon and the damage is affected by weakness, the weakness becomes 3 times instead of 2 times. So this is going to be an interesting one. The super effective glasses, 3 times weakness is a lot of times weakness. That is a lot. I don't know what you would combo this with. I mean, I've seen people mention Kecleon and stuff like that, but I think it probably won't see too much play. It does seem like a big impact to potentially have on your damage output in certain matchups and certain situations, but I don't know if it might just be too situational of a card overall. We'll have to wait and see on it, but it's got potential, but I think it might be a little bit too situational overall. Grant. During this turn, your fighting Pokemon attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now that's fine, and the really cool part about this card though is the extra effect on it. Now this doesn't count as playing the supporter for turn, but once during your turn, if this card is in your discard pile, you may discard 2 cards, except Grant from your hand. If you do, put this card into your hand, and then you can have access to it. So it kind of has like a built-in Via Seeker at the expense of discarding 2 cards. So a really cool effect on a supporter card, and if fighting Pokemon become good, it seems like a pretty obvious inclusion as a one-of into pretty much any fighting deck right now. The next one we're taking a look at is Temple of Sinnoh. Each special energy attached to your Pokemon attached to a Pokemon in play provides colorless and has no other effect. The stadium stays in play. Normal stadium rule there. So turns all special energy in play to simply just colorless energy. So basically Dusknoir's ability in stadium form, which if stadiums become pretty unpopular in the format, I could see this popping up and being good for a couple tournaments here and there. But as soon as you know people are playing it in their decks, you just kind of increase your count of stadium cards, and it's really hard to get consistent value out of a card like this. Because when you'll put it in play, your opponent has a turn to counter the stadium before they would even try and utilize their special energy. So I think it's a solid stadium card, but for the current format where there's so many stadiums and so many decks, and it's pretty easy to just kind of want to include stadiums in your decks, I don't think it'll be a consistent factor in the meta, but I think there will be moments in the meta where it could definitely have see popular play to kind of shut down some popular decks that play the special energy that actually don't play a ton of stadiums, but won't be a consistent factor in the meta, I don't think. And that's going to do it for my thoughts on the new cards coming out of Japan. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe and hit the bell, and I'll see you all in the next one.